Well, regardless of what color I may be wearing, we should still be able to continue with our plans. It isn't as though anyone will see me in public like this. Who will the trees tell? Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Death by Pony. Today we're hopping back into our life. So without further ado, let's hop in. Alright, and back in we go. Yeah. You trailed off after him with your own luggage. The hotel receptionist smiled from behind the white counter, her eyes somewhat weary from the day's work. You could relate to the exhaustion of dealing with a large mass of needy people and sent a silent wish that the rest of her day would be uneventful. Good evening. The receptionist nodded, offering her own greeting and replied before asking if you were both checking in. Exactly, and I would appreciate your assistance in doing so. The reservation should be for 2 rooms under Baxter Ward. Handing over his driver's license and credit card, the receptionist made quick work of the computer system and slid 2 pairs of plastic cards through the machine. You are going to be in room 194. Baxter was going to have the room next to you, 193. She picked up a map and drew a few arrows and lines and were directed to take a left and head up the elevator or take the stairs to the 2nd floor. With keys and maps handed off, you and Baxter departed from the front desk. So, did you want to take the elevator or stairs? You realized Baxter didn't immediately follow you. You turned back to him as he caught up, gesturing for you to wait. He dug out one of his key cards and offered it to you.
Now.
Elevator. Here, it may not be necessary, but I would be happy to let you have it in case. Sure, thanks, I'll take it. Thanks, Baxter, but I don't think I'll use it. You accepted the room. Okay. Sure, thanks, I'll take it. Do you want to have one of my cards too? We're giving him one. He doesn't get a choice. Baxter gratefully took your card in hand, pleased to have your good faith in the matter. The executive decision was made to take the elevator up the next floor, given all the bags. Truthfully, with only a night's worth of clothes and supplies, they weren't that heavy. What was more, it was only a floor up, and they'd installed an elevator for a reason, hadn't they? It'd be a shame not to put their hard work to use. The halls of the hotel were wide. It was easy enough for 2 people to pass through beside each other, though you and Baxter had to sidestep to make room for others occasionally. As you approached the end of the path, where your rooms sat beside one another, Baxter withdrew his keycard and held it against the digital lock with a fluid practice motion. Would it be alright if we were to meet later this evening? It was a long drive, and at least I'm in no rush to hurry off the next activity. You waved your hand to dispel any concerns, both real and imagined. Sure, that's fine. I'll see you soon.
Excellent.
Excellent. Take care, neighbor. He winked, laughing as he disappeared inside of his room and shut the door with a click, tapping your card against the lock. You followed suit. In comparison to the hotel foyer, the room was cozier. Not by much, but it was much less grand in scale. Ooh, oh my gosh, that looks like one of the blankets my mom had growing up. And let me tell you, that bitch was comfy and cozy. And we had it so long that the, what's it called? I think it's fleece on the other side got crunchy and had like sticks and things in it. So we eventually just ended up getting rid of it because it was a little gross after so many years with children. One of the walls was laid precisely with wooden planks. At the center of the room was a headboard of the single king-size bed, was situated by some nondescript painting. It didn't seem cramped in part because of the glass doors that led out onto a balcony and because of the nearby window, which meant more light came into the room. It was bright even without the lamps on. In the breeze of the quiet evening up at the mountains, the branches waved to say hello. Setting down your stuff, you started unpacking toiletries and clothes before searching for a plug at the nightstand for your phone charger. As you unpacked and the sun rays slipped further out of the room, it occurred to you that you also owed a call to your loved ones. Any further delay would have led to officers bursting down the door, and it was hand-carved mahogany, maybe. It didn't take more than a couple clicks through your contacts to pull up Liz's number, and she'd been one of the last people you were texting on your way up before the signal cut out in the first place. The phone rang for a second before your sister's voice came through the other line. There was an exaggeration to her tone, sense of suspicion.
So?
James, this better be you and not some impersonator. I'm onto you, Ward, if that is in fact your real name. Liz, how am I supposed to prove that? J'accuse. So, this is what I get for calling. Come on, Liz, you know it's really me. Baxter wouldn't do that. Don't worry, Elizabeth, it's James for sure. Any silly voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And since the actual James would complain about it, you're real. The bit of French there does have me skeptical, though. That sounds like Baxter to me. Laughter bubbled up to the surface with Liz joining in on her end. That was exactly what I wanted you to think. No more questions, Your Honor. There was no way of knowing for sure, but you were pretty confident she was rolling her eyes. I'm not buying that you suddenly have the capacity for three-dimensional chess. Isn't 3D chess normal chess? Yeah, that's definitely you. Moving on, I'm glad you got there safe and sound enough that you're keeping up with me. I still don't know about that Baxter guy. He's too formal and stiff for someone younger than me. But I guess he got you there in one piece. How's the lodge? The beach seems like a million miles away. It feels like I stepped out of a wardrobe into a brand new world, but there is no magic.
Really?
Wow, do you like it? It's comfortable. The older sister listened with the intensity of someone still handling an interrogation. This will do. Just make sure to have some fun for the rest of us, alright? Take pictures. Mom's already starting to ask why you haven't sent any. They want to see the inside of the car?
Right?
That's what I said. The conversation trailed on longer. Liz weighed in on the speakerphone with what had been going on at home since he'd left. She'd mentioned that Cove stopped by at some point to drop off something from his dad and told her to tell you he said hi. Eventually, Liz tapered off at the mention of her own sleepiness. She helpfully reminded you to go get some rest before, adding that you needed to call her again tomorrow. The phone was promptly tossed aside in favor of preparing for the night. Then a gentle knock came at your door. Baxter, presumably. Baxter, correctly. He was the only other person standing there in the doorway once you opened it. Hi, come in. Bowing his head, he stepped inside and he offered a thanks for being quick with the invitation instead of making him stand in the hallway. Reported in with the commander in charge. There will be no hunting tonight. Good. I will remain on my best behavior to avoid drawing sisterly ire. Yeah, don't worry too much about that red dot on your forehead. The curve of Baxter's smile widened while he took a quick look around his room. It couldn't be all that different from his own, but regardless, as though it were.
So?
It appears that you've settled in quite nicely. It's late, so I won't keep you, but I did want to discuss our plans for tomorrow. Feel free to enjoy yourself in the morning without worry about accommodating me. It should be easy to explore the town if you want, but the lodge has amenities you could also try if you're interested. There's a gym around, along with a pool, and a complimentary breakfast if you're up early enough for it. As for the afternoon, evening, and night, I'd be pleased if we could spend it together. Not hoping for a morning call from yours truly? Baxter didn't do early mornings, or mornings in general. It was no skin off your bones to let him sleep in, especially considering that this was supposed to be a vacation. Well, it was always a vacation for Baxter, but the rationale held. He was always so considerate of you that it stood to reason do the same for him. He nervously ran a hand through his hair before semblance of his Baxter ward patent and confidence returned to
I
his features.
appreciate the understanding.
I thank you for your consideration. As for what we'll do with tomorrow, how would you feel about a hike? There's a lovely trail that starts directly from here, loops up and around the forest at the back, then returns us to where we started. It's a bit of a longer path, so we could pack a lunch with us to take on the way. I can have it ordered and delivered ahead of time. You love hiking, so you're more than on board with the plan. Hiking could be good, especially with the prospect of seeing some scenery. Didn't mind the section. You were out here after all. You didn't want to go, but you didn't want to be a downer on the trip. You weren't sure about going on a hike that long, but you were open to trying. Going on a hike with Baxter sounded pretty entertaining. I like hiking. Let's do it. He smiled graciously. Baxter had his heart set on that outing. Clearly, you'd made his day by joining the adventure.
Goodbye for today.
I'll look forward to it then. With that, Baxter took his leave after offering a quiet goodnight. There were a few hours left before you had to be in bed, so you settled in for the first night of what continued to be a surreal experience. It was spent peacefully, and you were drifting into an equally gentle dream. The sun peeked through the sheer curtains at the first part of the day to greet you as you woke in a sprawling bed that wasn't your own. The break catches warm. It was time to get up. Maybe a few more minutes. Nothing urgent happening, right? Your eyes hadn't even opened. Getting up early was for morning people. You hopped to your feet and you went through your morning routine, all while considering the possibilities of your alone time. Baxter wouldn't be meeting up with you until around the afternoon. Your growling stomach made the decision for you. First thing on your agenda was getting breakfast. By the time your hunger was satiated, Baxter hadn't contacted you. Hotel room for some extra downtime. Wander the hotel scene, look for the gym, where the pool was. Left house. Let's go to the gym. I like the gym. What you wore to breakfast wouldn't exactly cut it at the gym, so you returned to your room to retrieve your things before wandering down to the lobby to search. Eventually, you managed to make your way over the state-of-the-art gym. All the machines gleamed with newness. Each seemed more polished than the last, and tempting as it was, probably wasn't the best idea to try and use the equipment this soon after eating. Besides, you were going ahead on a hike afternoon anyway. So instead, you did some light stretching and conditioning off to the side as other guests took up occupancy on the treadmills and weightlifting machines. By 11 p.m. rolled around, your phone hummed with a new text from Baxter. It was as formal worded as ever. Good afternoon, James. I will be ready for our hike shortly. I hope the amenities were to your liking. Awesome, I'll get ready too. And yeah, choices in this place. Has a lot going on. Wonderful, I've always enjoyed how responsive you are. I will be ordering lunch in the intermine. I thought sandwiches might suit our activities for the day. Should be easy to bring along and fine to eat cold. I would advise straying away from the paninis for that reason. I'll send along the menu shortly. Let me know what you prefer. As promised, Baxter attached a perfectly formatted PDF with set options, which seemed increasingly more complex the lower you scrolled on the menu. There were options next to everything: what bread, what fillings, what cheese, what spread. It was enough to make you forget what was available in a category as soon as you moved from one section to the other. But you hastily made your decision with seconds still ticking by, and a text did your order to Baxter, who replied with a blushing smile emoji. Excellent choice. I will be waiting in the lobby for the delivery. Then make your way down there as soon as you're able. Take care. After sending off that last text, you tucked your phone away and hurried to your room. After sending off that last text, you hurried to rinse off and change before you headed to your room. Good shoes were a must when it came to hikes, along with full water bottle. With the weather and the time of day being what it was, you hoped you might catch the last dredges of the cool morning air before the afternoon really set in. Once you were satisfied you had everything that you needed, you returned to the front of the hotel. The lobby was as cavalrously vacant as ever, so it wasn't hard to find the back of a distinct head of black and white hair near the fireplace with a bag of what were potentially sandwiches. Yet you weren't certain it wasn't Baxter. It could have been. Sure, his shoes were black and the pants were dark gray. He had gray bag too, which all eared to the side of monochrome, but his shirt. The man was wearing a khaki? It was as if you found a cryptid in the flesh. You never thought you'd see the day where Baxter Ward was wearing a color that he wasn't wearing any color at all. Of course, you knew it wasn't actually strange with the same unique hairstyle and his body type, but it was hard not to joke about it. Baxter turned to the sound of your footsteps. James. He grinned, jaw tense. Baxter probably would have been more comfortable trotting around the lobby in nothing more than his presumably black and white underwear. He was the guy that described skinny dipping as invigorating after all. I didn't know beige was the new shade of black and white. The teasing edge to your voice did nothing to add any levity to the situation as Baxter looked for a change, truly embarrassed by the situation. He took a very deep breath with his eyes closing and his hand unintentionally tightening its grip around the bag. His answer finally came out in the same exhale. I only brought one shirt that was suitable for a hike with me this trip. I'd be certain I wouldn't need more than that. He looked away, hand brushing through his hair again. He worked to find the words. And after you left, I found this among my things. Baxter grimaced. He looked at the shirt as if he'd been hit with a splash from a puddle. And regrettably, I did not find anything else. This is the shirt I brought for outdoor activities. The fates would have it that I only found out when there was no time to run out and get a replacement, thus leaving me with a few remaining options: a formal button-down, one of my designer tops, silk pajamas, or gestures the khaki shirt with both finality and defeat. So, you own it? Baxter shook his head empathetically. The light in his eyes betrayed his expression with some light. At the least, you found his misfortune entertaining enough to prod at.
Never.
No, I suppose I must have accidentally stole it from a roommate. I don't know who else would own a khaki button-down, other than that prep. My memories of the final pack at dawn before I set out California are hazy, to say the least. I had believed at the time that I took a pale, gray, sturdy cotton shirt for occasions like this. The low lighting and my waning focus in the moment betrayed me. Of course, morning Baxter struck again. Sighing, he straightened the thieved attire. If he was going to be unpresentable, it should at least be decently so. The sandwich bag fell against his hip and his eyes met yours. I must ask that you keep this a secret, James. So you're safe with me, BAW? Sure, but just know I'll be saving this information as blackmail. You shrugged noncommittally in reply. Come on, it's not that bad. You look good. Man, beige really isn't your color, huh? Admitting to theft of your own mouth? You could get arrested for that, you said jokingly. Your secret's safe with me.
Thank you.
This discretion is appreciated. Truly, you are one of the few I can be vulnerable with. As unhappy with his predicament as he was, there was something undeniably sweet about the fact he hurried to make it at the risk of keeping you waiting. The collar of his shirt was crumpled and parts of it were wrinkled, like you from the hastily packing after you finally discovered the horrible mistake. The latter couldn't be fixed without an iron, but at least the collar could be smoothed over. You reached out instinctively to fix the incident while brushing against the side of his neck as you straightened out the crease. Pale skin flushed with sudden warmth, pinkening as your fingers fell against the hollow of his throat. His Adam's apple bobbed and his breath hitched in his throat. His embarrassment managed to ease into laughter. Baxter covered his mouth to stifle the chuckle that echoed through the empty foyer. You tried your best to keep from cackling any more than you already did at his poor beige influence expense.
Well,
Regardless of what color I may be wearing, we should still be able to continue with our plans. It isn't as though anyone will see me in public like this. Who will the trees tell? It really isn't as bad as you think. There's nothing wrong with being off-theme sometimes. Contraire. Tell that to my poor suffering ego. Years of tradition, wasted. Shaking your head, you adjusted the strap of your bag on your shoulders. Okay, if you're done. Baxter gave you a world-weary glance as if to say he was already greatly limiting how much he could have gone on about. We can head on out. Let's. He packed away the sandwiches into a bigger, properly gray bag, truly ending his lament about the situation of his attire. Once he was certain the food was not liable to be flattened, Baxter gestured for you to follow him out of the hotel onto a nearby trail behind the building. Oh my god, it's so pretty! Why does this art have? What does this game have such pretty art? The path initially was paved and clearly marked. As he continued at leisurely pace, it eventually narrowed into a large swath of evergreen trees and beaten ground. The mountain air was sharper than the sea breeze you were so used to. Instead of salt, you could smell pine in between the wafts of liberally applied sunscreen. With the pleasant breeze and coolness drawn from the stream, the weather was more than ideal for a hike. Trees provided cover too, hiding you both from the high afternoon sun. Foliage rustled at your feet as your shoes kicked at the fallen turf. The path wasn't big enough for you to walk side by side, so Baxter took the front. After some prolonged silence, he spoke up.
Perfect.
I am glad that this trail matches what I saw online. It seemed like an easy hike, as it lacked steepness inclines. The path ahead is clear. Yeah, it's been nice so far. Oh, that's too bad. More vigorous trail would have been great. What a relief. I was worried you were going to pick something harder. That's not really a hike, it's more of a scenic stroll. You nodded happily for an easy trail. You sighed, disappointed this wasn't going to be a more challenging trek. Yeah, it's been nice so far. And the company makes it all the more charming. But look at Mr. Mountaineer over here. Do you hike a lot? He turned his gaze up to the tree's canopy, considering the question for a moment as leaves crunched underfoot and the path sloped uphill. I don't go often, but I am quite used to it, if that's the question. I'm not sure I'd consider it amongst my personal hobbies, but I'm not adverse to it.
I love it.
I welcome the opportunity, in fact, when it is available. That makes a lot of sense. If you go hiking, if you've got a hiking shirt and everything. That's shocking. Are you sure you're really Baxter? You said teasingly. Me too. That's cool. We have it in common. I honestly wouldn't have figured that. You gave him supportive thumbs up. I agree. It's a wonderful thing to have some time that we can enjoy together. Though I would not call myself a mountaineer proper. He chuckled, stopping in place at the partial ascent. Baxter glanced over his shoulder at you and watched for any signs of difficulty with your footing. It may be fitting to impress on a day's hike similar to this, but I knew some people who truly could call themselves weirdness aficionados. The types that you could see in reality survival show, I'd wager, in the Alaskan wilds fighting a bear for salmon. You paint such beautiful pictures with your words. Thank you. I'm speaking on the Murrays, the parents and their 2 teens who would regularly go on backpacking trips that would last days, and then they'd sleep outside in the middle of the woods.
Certainly.
What's more, they enjoyed rappelling down cliffsides. Certainly they had safety gear, but I cannot fathom willingly going to such degrees. Or rather, it might be more apt to say I can't imagine surviving them. Baxter continued on some of the Murray's exploits, a little of his own reservations about anything else under the sun, including scuba diving. Though you had plenty to say about that between Mr. Holden's entire business and living so close to the ocean. But it wasn't long before you decided to stop for lunch. It had already been a few hours since you had breakfast. Baxter hadn't eaten anything yet for the day. There weren't picnic tables along the path, so the task fell to you to find somewhere to take a break. Happened to be the case you saw a nice sunny spot with some nice flat rocks first. How about we take a lunch break over there? Following your raised arm, Baxter eventually nodded in agreement. The 2 of you headed over to the stones and shrugged off your packs. After digging through the bag's contents, he produced the 2 sandwiches and handed yours over. The sound of crinkling beeswax paper unwrapping announced the start of lunch. My family went to the Redwoods when I was a kid. Have you been? Baxter shook his head, taking another bite out of his meal. He bid you to continue. We went in an RV with the Holdens and had sandwiches then too, but a bird stole Mr. Holden's, and he chased after that bird like it was his last meal.
Really?
Really now. Ma tried to tell him that we had literally 1,000 ingredients to make more, but he was so sure he could get it, so he kept chasing after it, and the story trailed on longer than you intended, but Baxter was interested in every step of the way. Well, stuffing your face, keeping up conversation fell off the list of priorities. Baxter followed your lead and dedicated himself to his own sandwich. Real silence was avoided thanks to the delightful world around you. The rustling of leaves, the bubbling of water, even the small songbird fluttered by overhead, landing on a nearby perch. It seemed to stare directly at you and chirped. Adorable. Love wilderness. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, remember to hit like. That way I know you're enjoying the videos I'm making. Remember to subscribe. That way YouTube brings you back here to see what's next. I won't take up any more of your time. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.